everybody. It is so good to have you here with me. Imagine
if you have your vision as the car with the right team.
Imagine how quick that vision will come into the picture. Something that was taking 5 years takes 3 months. This morning is all about the leadership and influence. It's that time of the morning. This is Tuesday morning with your host, Carl Hendricks, on the Inside Show. What a wonderful morning again. Thank you so much for tuning in again on the show here this morning. I would love you please to subscribe, and you'll see a bell next door there, next to the subscribe button. Hit that bell. You will every single time know when we're on. Well, this is the Inside Shows. It's the political platform of the Inside Show, and we are living in very, very exciting times now with in the political arena, with all the coalitions and all the parties, big parties, small parties, middle parties, all types of parties are here this morning in the studio with me. First of all, I'd love to welcome Attie. He is my co-host here this morning, and you know by now, anytime when we have political aspects or politics, or when we have debates, he's in the studio with me. A warm welcome to you. And then also we have the wonderful Camerdene-June. I call her CJ. She's a final year student in political science, and she will pose some questions around the youth issues here this morning. Then we have the DA here with us. The DA is in the house, Dr. Phalatse. A wonderful welcome to you. You are at least we are surrounded by two ladies in the studio here this morning. A warm welcome to you. We've got ACDP Bishop Dalton Adams with us here this morning. Action Party, the ex-mayor Herman Mashaba in the house here. We've got EFF here, Muzi Tshabalala in the house. All the names are so beautiful and wonderful and so nice to have everybody in the show. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you 2 minutes for opening remarks, and then we'll get straight into the show. Well, this morning, just for your 2 minutes on opening remarks, you can land from any angle. You can introduce yourself, anything that you'd love to say. By now you are so used to this because you are on all stations all over the country. I'm going to give Dr. Paul an opportunity for 2 minutes opening. Thank you so much.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for the invite. Thanks for having me here. I represent the Democratic Alliance, a party that is known for a good track record of good governance. Where the DA governs, we govern well. We've looked at various studies from Stats SA to Ratings Africa to the Auditor General. There's agreement across the board that where the Democratic Alliance governs, we do things well. We understand how to run cities. Our cities are well run. The city of Cape Town is the #1 city in Africa. It's the #1 business destination in South Africa. Right here in Gauteng, Midvaal municipality is the #1 municipality with clean audit after clean audit in the province. We want to bring the good governance brand of the Democratic Alliance to the city of Johannesburg, the city that is broken, the city that has regressed so much in the last 2 years of ANC taking it back, that we want to restore the city before we have no city to restore in 5 years' time. We believe that it's crunch time now in 2021, that we take back the city and bring back the shine to our city of gold that was known as the land of opportunity. And as the DA, we've got a plan on exactly how to do that.
I tell you. There's the Honorable Dr. Paul. I'd love to give the opportunity to ACDP Bishop Dalton for his 2 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Carl. It's my honor and my privilege to be here this morning. Let me greet everyone that's watching us today on the networks, whatever networks it is, the Facebook and all social media. Let me greet my fellow panelists that is with me today. It's an honor to be here. I think the city of Joburg, where I grew up, a child of the soil, needs leadership that has wisdom, divine wisdom. Because the issues that we are facing in the city of Joburg is in a deficit. In fact, quite frankly, we are bankrupt concerning the issues of service delivery and the lack thereof. So the Bible is very clear when it says, if you need wisdom, pray from God. And that's what I need to pray for, is how do we fix the city of Johannesburg for the people of Johannesburg? It's going to be incredibly important for us to have leadership, strong leadership. That is what's lacking in the city at the moment. Leadership that are decisive, leadership that are visionaries, leadership that are focused, leadership that has the people in their hearts and carry them in their hearts. A leadership that will look at the needs of the people. The city of Johannesburg does not need the bickering and the fighting, the criticism. Somebody once says when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. And currently, as we sit here today, the people of Johannesburg are suffering. And Proverbs 29 verse 2 says, when the unrighteous rule, the people are unhappy. But when the righteous rule, the people are happy. So I want to make sure that in the city of Johannesburg, there be leadership that will look at the needs and the cry of the people of the city of Johannesburg to bring about that fundamental change.
Thank you so much, kind of you, Bishop Dalton. I'm going to give an opportunity to action Mr. Herman Mashaba, an opportunity for his 2 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Mashaba.
Thank you very much. I'm sure people of Johannesburg are aware that I've got unfinished business. I left the city after only serving 3 years instead of the normal 5 years, and I obviously had to really leave because I had major differences with the party that I represented, running a 7-way coalition arrangement. However, I think if one looks at the achievements in the 3 years under very difficult circumstances, I think one needs to really go back to go and fix our country and our city, because you can't really fix South Africa without fixing Johannesburg. That's why my motto has always been saying, if Johannesburg works, South Africa will work. There's just no way that you can have Johannesburg that works South Africa without Johannesburg working. We've got a broken system, hijacked buildings, our city being used as the World Cup of crime. All criminal syndicates all over the world have identified our city to really be a playground for criminals. We say absolutely not. South Africa, Johannesburg cannot really be a dumping place of counterfeit goods, expired goods. Our country cannot really be a city that looks after everybody else from everywhere in the world when 12 million of our own people are unemployed, when people live in squalor, in hijacked buildings, in squatter camps. We are saying Johannesburg has got to take the leadership in ensuring that we can restore the dignity of our people. And there is no other party other than the ActionSA that can really do that, because I've proved it beyond any reasonable doubt that I have the courage and the conviction to serve the people of this country than serving people of the world. We want people of the world to come here, but they must come here legally, and when they're here, they must respect our laws. Otherwise, we will work with the Home Affairs to make sure that we send them back to our countries so that we can give dignity to South Africa.
Thank you, Mr. Mashaba. Kind of you. EFF, Mr. Muzi Tshabalala. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me here, and greetings to the parties around the table and everyone else here, including your viewers. My name is Muzi Tshabalala, the Secretary of the Johannesburg region of the EFF. Our position as the organization is clear. We are saying we haven't governed anywhere, but our impact in the national government down to the province and in the cities across the country, we have made a huge impact. We went there knowing very well that we are going to change the status quo. And we have done that, and we also advise on how best things can be done differently as opposed to the way things were. And we continue to champion the very same ideology and making sure that our people are getting proper services as per the Constitution indicates. Equally, everyone who's in the executive must be held accountable and make sure that the service deliveries are given to our people equally in as much as they deserve. Now, the position of the EFF in this upcoming elections is clear. We are saying we have launched our manifesto. Our manifesto is going to be a guiding document, but that is informed by the experience that we've acquired in the past few years, since 2016 to date. Equally, we are going to make sure that whatever research we've gathered from our communities and the failures of the parties that were also in power, we're going to make sure that we correct that and implement things accordingly as per the constitution of the country.
Thank you so much for your kindness there. I'm going to hand over to my co-host here this morning, and he will pose a few questions, and then we'll get into the program here this morning.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Carl, and thank you for having called this debate. Let's just jump into it, since each of you have greeted us now. Coming into the elections, just from an organizational point of view, how healthy is your party? Are you happy with your message? Are you happy with your manifesto? Have you got enough money to run the elections? Are you stable internally? Just take a minute and a half or so, and just tell us organizationally how ready you feel to enter into these elections. Councillor selection, party stability, and the amount of baggage that you bring with you. Are you managing that, and how are voters receiving your message? Anyone can jump.
Okay, well, I'll start. So, you know, the Democratic Alliance has been governing for years, and we're fortunate in that we've got municipalities where we've been in government for more than one term. You know, we've got Cape Town, we've got Midvaal, for example. We've got quite a few in the Western Cape. We're able to draw from those experiences, and so we bring to people a record of good governance and a promise of more. You know, and it's not based on one municipality, it's based on various municipalities. We've been subjected to tests by the likes of Stats SA, who have looked at various indices on who governs best in South Africa. There's a 2019 study looking at service to indigent households. Contrary to popular belief about the Democratic Alliance, we came out on top in terms of providing services to the poor in the Western Cape, where over and over our municipalities in the Western Cape were rated #1 in giving electricity to the poor, water to the poor, sanitation.
But what I want us to do now, we'll get to the issue of the municipalities just now. I just want us to start organizationally.
All right.
How do you feel? For example, let's talk about the DA. You have Helen Zell like an albatross around your neck. Every day there's another devastating tweet. You have the poster scandal in Phoenix. You have the qualification scandal. Your Western Cape leader was fired as a result of that, but you didn't fire Natasha Mazzoni, who lied about having a law degree. You didn't fire J.P. Smith, your golden eye boy in the city of Cape Town, who lied about having an honors degree in English from Stellenbosch. Are you finding on the campaign trail that is baggage? Do you find it difficult to sell your message against that background of all those scandals following you?
Definitely not. So I've been on the campaign trail for 5 weeks now.
Okay.
And the reception has been very positive. People are tired. They're tired of empty promises. They're tired of 27 years of living in squalor. They want real change. And people aren't foolish. They know who is capable of delivering the change that they need. Remember, this is a local government election.
That's right.
It's not an ideological election. It's an election about basic service delivery. And people are concerned about who has the capability, who has demonstrated over and over years, over several cycles, election cycles, in various settings, a capability of delivering the services that they need. And people know that the Democratic Alliance is the only party that can claim to be in that position. Now, these issues come up. I mean, you speak about Helen Zille. Helen Zille tweets in her personal capacity, you know, and people need to understand that the Democratic Alliance is the most diverse party in the country, if not the only diverse party in the country. And I respect
a white leader, a white chief whip in parliament, a white federal executive chair. How is that the most diverse in the country?
We are the most diverse party. I'm talking about the organization.
I'm talking about seats of decision taking, Dr. Mpho.
If we talk about leadership echelons, I mean, we've got the likes of Refilwe Ntsege, who served as a deputy federal chairperson for many terms. And this I will say, and people need to understand that the election process of the Democratic Alliance is democratic. So in other words, we were not elected to a position if you didn't put your hand up for it. And I've said that as a black female in the Democratic Alliance, I'm willing to say to people, I've never put my hand up for positions, and therefore I cannot turn around and say the Democratic Alliance is not representative when I do not make myself available. So the onus is on us as black leaders to put our hands up for positions so that there is better representation in the leadership echelons of the party.
I would be remiss if I didn't test this with you, and we're still just talking about your organizational readiness. Are you, as Mpho Phalatse, when you are with yourself and you think and you reflect on a personal level, are you concerned that your life might end in the same way like Muzi Maimane, like Herman Mashaba, like what is your former parliamentary leader who went to Harvard now? The name is just escaping me now. Lindiwe Masibuko. Every black star coming up and then later on we are told that an experiment went wrong. Do you have any personal fears that you may be used or that you may not be regarded 5 years from now?
So I think one thing that all these people have in common is that none of them were fired, they resigned. Right, and so they made a personal decision. So I can look at Paul and say, Paul, how would you handle a situation like this? Would you leave or would you stay? And it's a personal decision. It's not a party decision. So, for instance, if I were to end up in a position where I'm disagreeing with certain people in the party, am I the type of person to leave? Am I the type of person to stay and say, let's find each other, let's find common ground? I'm in the Democratic Alliance because of its diversity. I'll tell you why it's important, because South Africa is a diverse country with a rainbow nation. And if we cannot run away from our diversity.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Mashaba, coming into the elections, ActionSA, are you comfortable with your message, your manifesto? Have you got the money? Have you got the right councillors? And do you feel that you've identified the right bread and butter issues?
Without any doubt. I think if you look at our readiness, I think we're a party only a year old. We're the first party to announce our mayors of all the many municipalities we're going to contest. First one. We're the first party to launch our manifesto. We are the first party to submit our names to the IEC, but the IEC only released our names, just last week?
Yes.
So
you still in court.
in fact, they have to submit the answering affidavits to it. The court gave them today. So let's see what happens. We are going to take them on. In fact, I would hope the way here, the hyenas, because they're the ones, the ANC, who have put us as a country into this mess. 27 years of mismanagement, 27 years
they were here last week with the PA, and we had some fun. Now just coming into the elections.
So for us, we are ready. I'm the mayoral candidate of the city of Johannesburg to finish the unfinished business that are left behind because of the DA. I think I just want to really correct and help Dr. Phalatse, who has a start under my administration. Unfortunately, she's facing a massive challenge with the DA, because for me to have resigned is not because I just really resigned. When they started having secret discussions with the hyenas in C, to remove me, but they go out in public, they can't go into bed with the ANC. And then tell me, do you expect me, I must sit back and wait for the DA and see, so because they said I'm a cheeky black.
That is what I'd like to know. How do you sell your message? Because your 3 years in Joburg, when you sell those successes, it was in your capacity as a DA mayor. But when...
No, as a coalition, no, it was not a DA mayor. I was running a coalition government led by the DA. And that's something fundamental that the DA could not understand. The arrogance is what actually broke the relationship.
You were DA, Mr. Mashaba.
No, yes, I was.
You were DA.
But I wasn't running a DA administration. That's what DA failed to really understand.
Explain to the viewers the difference.
When you run a coalition arrangement, everyone, the 7 parties, some of them brought one member. EFF voted with us on an issue-by-issue basis. Freedom Front Plus brought one councillor. But my approach from day one, when the DA came out with the arrogance of the service delivered and clean audits, and I think it's a very unfortunate.
But Helen Zeller said your problem was that you considered your caucus only to be the EFF. You ignored the other parties. You ignored your own caucus. When she came out that day to say how shocked she was about your resignation, you didn't even talk to her about it, and so on, so on, so.
But the thing is, Helen Leza is a habitual liar. I mean, it's on record. She's a habitual liar. So, I mean, caught so many times lying, and she doesn't really see anything wrong with lying. It's part of her DNA, it looks like, you know.
Okay.
So, I'm saying is, remember when I went into this government, where the EFF didn't want me.
Who didn't want you? They didn't want you.
The EFF didn't want.
They issued a press statement saying
they went,
that if the DA selects you, they will rather vote with the ANC.
Because the EFF didn't want me, because I'm a capitalist, unapologetic one. But at the same time, I've got a social
And a
conscience.
cheeky one at that, Alan Zelson's.
I come from, I've got a social conscience.
Okay.
When we wanted to really serve poor communities, EFF supported us. Freedom Front Plus have supported
Thank
us.
you.
And
We
DA was
gonna-
against
We're
them.
going to go into that now. Mr. Tshabalala, the
Yes.
EFF coming to the elections. Are you happy with your manifesto? Are you comfortable with the message?
Happy with our manifesto. Our manifesto speaks to the issues that are affecting our people on a daily basis. The priorities, we're not going to shy away of that. We are prioritizing black people because they are always at the receiving end in our manifesto. We want a better life for those people. And second to that, the selection of councillor candidates, it's a very wise move. And most of our candidates, ward candidates, are people who are residing in those wards as per the municipal demarcation. And in terms of the campaign, we're fine, we're clear, and our message speaks to the heart of the people as opposed to the one that are provoking people to call them heroes when they killed people. So ours, they resonate well with our constituency, which is our people and
but
the
it's your
bread and
partner.
butter. Who?
It's your partner, the DA in Phoenix, who called the murderers in Phoenix heroes, was your coalition partner for 3 years in Joburg.
Yes, yeah.
You had no problem to be in bed with them.
Yes.
And yet you understand their ideological leaning.
No, you must understand what happened in the city of Johannesburg and as opposed to what is happening in Phoenix. Yes, I agree.
No, you can't split the DA, Mr. Tshabalala.
No.
Those are DA posters.
No, I'm not
Those are
splitting.
DA posters.
I'm not splitting them, but I want you to understand.
You called Landiwe Masibuko a tea-girl of the madam, and then you got into bed with the madam's party.
Yes.
Is that political opportunism?
The reason why we did that, we had two devils here before us. We need to choose the better one between the two.
Yes.
The better devil was the DA.
Just tell the viewers who those devils are.
Right?
The viewers
Is
tell
the
them who they-
ANC and the DA.
Those were the two devils.
Certainly.
Okay. And
So
you
the
had to-
better devil at the time was the DA.
Okay.
So we had to move with DA. However, we're not happy with the mayoral candidate of the DA. That is why we issued out a press statement. But as we move...
What's your issues with the mayoral candidate of the DA?
At the time.
At the time.
Okay, at the time. Yeah.
Yes, he was a capitalist and he has confirmed that.
Okay.
We don't move with the capitalist. We are
Okay.
pro-socialist.
Are you afraid as the EFF coming into the election in terms of baggage that VBS is an albatross? Are you being challenged at your campaigns, at interviews? When you encounter the voter, is the voter concerned about the uncleared issues around the EFF and the collapse of the VBS bank?
What I like about EFF, we get to be accused about quite a number of things. And we are saying we're not going to run away, bring those issues forth. Go and test that before the court. The CIC says even now to say, bring along. If you know one of the EFF officials or EFF member who is implicated in the VBS, come and open a case. We're going to take you to the police station and accompany you and make sure that we suspend that name.
you so much.
No one has came forth with anyone's name. But when you look at the list that was issued out by the person that was in charge in terms of the investigation,
Advocate Terry Mutau.
Terry Mutau.
Yeah, Terry Mutau
Yeah.
report.
So, but most ANC officials are found in that, including the NEC members. But a lot less has been said about those, but more of the EFF.
But obviously,
members.
they're not here this morning. Otherwise, I would have put the question to them.
Yes.
Bishop Adams, the ACDP coming into the elections, have you got baggage? Have you got the right money? Are you happy with your message? Are you connecting to the voters?
You see, let me answer it like this. Firstly, Apostle Fanel, for 10 minutes, you have seen the parties, how they point fingers, how they attack each other, how they try to pull each other down, how they try very hard to score points in terms of what let the electorate know who's going to rise. And that's precisely the problem in National Assembly, the problem in legislation, and the problem in council. And this is the challenge that I face. And I sit in legislature and I wonder, what are they actually getting right in Parliament? What are they getting right and in council? Because this is precisely what is happening. To come to your question, sir, the ACDP is at peace at where we are at. We don't have enough money because nobody has enough money. We don't have sponsors that give us millions. That's why we never declared anything, because there was nothing to declare. We just get money in terms of the IEC policy for the party political funding, and we must make that work. But the readiness of the ACDP is at top level at the moment. I think we are more ready than what we have ever been, primarily because we have built structures.
Okay.
I have built structures in the Gauteng to make sure that we have visibility and representation in most of the wards.
Does it concern you that as an explicitly Christian party, you are not connecting with a Christian voter in an 86% Christian country? Why are you not the majority party if that is the milieu in which you are campaigning?
And maybe
Why don't you get the Christian vote?
Yeah. And maybe that's the reason why the ACDP did not grow exponentially. Because you cannot take a Christian fundamental belief system and put it into politics. You must understand that politics is about service delivery. Politics is about lights, it's about potholes, it's about electricity, it's about meeting the needs
At the
of the
local
people.
level, yes.
In most levels, in all levels of government, basically. So my approach in the ACDP is to say, I want to vehemently contest the fact that I'm relegated. We're relegated to the corner to say, go and pray, you are a Christian party. Go and preach, you are a Christian party. The time has come that the ACDP must begin to stand up and make their voice heard with regards to the needs of our people.
But aren't you afraid that what you're blaming the voter of right now is exactly how you have sketched yourself like that? You will always bring up the issue of Christianity back in schools and when the rest of us are discussing the economy and the land and reindustrialization. You're not really a loud party on those pertinent issues.
No, I think you're conflating the issue with regards to Christianity back in schools. The ACDP did not say that. I think that's another party that's coming out strongly concerning that, bringing God back into schools. On that point, I want to say, for us, it is important that we believe that the values and morals is a parental responsibility. Not necessarily, you mustn't sponsor it to the Sunday school or sponsor it to the school.
Yes, sir.
You must actually allow the parents to take responsibility. The Bible says in the book of Deuteronomy that this law must not depart from your mouth day and night, and you must meditate it all the time, and you must teach it to your children and your children's children. The fact that we want to say now that everything must go back to the schools is not going to work for us.
To our viewers, you connected to the Inside Show on a Tuesday morning, hosted by Dr. Carl Hendricks, of which I'm the co-host this morning, and we have in the studio 4 parties contesting on November 1 for the mayorship of Joburg. CJ, you can come in here, please.
Good morning, everyone in studio. Good morning to the viewers. My name is Camerdene-June, and I am a final year political science student at the University of Pretoria. So I am here to probe on behalf of the youth. I am here to hold your manifestos to account, and I am here to determine if the youth, in fact, is disillusioned, disinterested, or if we have just been deceived by the political system and political processes. Now, in 2016, at the local elections, the eligible youth voting population was 11 million. Of that 11 million, only 6 million youth registered to vote. And of that 6 million, indicators suggest that only half of those numbers showed up to vote. Now, assuming that you as the political parties are aware of this alarming fact, I ask my question in 2 parts. Firstly, what have you done to mobilize the youth and to bring the youth into the spaces of leadership in your political parties, such as for mayoral candidates, and to take up space in the mayoral committees? And secondly, how to what extent is the youth being prioritized in your manifestos? Because we do make up the majority of the South African population, so it is imperative that the youth be represented.
No, thanks. Let me come in quickly. As you read out your questions there, one would then think that EFF has shared their copy with you. And unfortunately, we haven't done that because the question speaks to the EFF. We have made a lot of inroads to make sure that we attract young people back to the politics. We have the student command in each and every higher institution of learning around the country. We have the structures in different communities of young people. Right? Even though we don't want to give them a specific name because we cannot have a structure within the structure. But we have a clear program that is outlined for young people, each and every community, that specifically focuses on their development. Right? So when I cannot even go further to say EFF is the youth organization. even though we have elderly people, but we encourage young people to participate in social issues, political issues, and economical issues. So I think I've covered your questions, because we made sure that these past registrations, most young people, they go and register. That is why our program as the EFF were to go and get those ones that are marginalized. They call them names, Bonyaupe, and them. We have attracted them to make sure that we take them to go and register to vote so that their vote can count.
Dr. Mpo?
Well, the DA speaks for itself. I mean, the best run municipality in Gauteng is Midvaal, which is run by a young man. He's still youth as far as I'm concerned. As far as I know, I think the last time I checked his age this year, he was still under youth. He's a mayor now, it's his second term, and he's done extremely well. If you look at the 5 mayors for the strategic municipalities in Gauteng, we've got Peter Texera in Midvaal, we've got Tyrone in Mogale City, both of them young men. Myself, Refila, in our mid-40s, and Randall.
Oh, that's young. As another mid-40 year, let's characterize that as young. Yeah, you have my backing. Okay.
Yeah, Randall is the only one that.
And manifesto-wise,
really,
what is the second part of the question is, in your manifesto, does youth and the issues of youth feature prominently?
Well, they do. I mean, if I even just go back to when we were in the city, when we started in the city of Johannesburg, there was a very lopsided structure where you had, I don't know if you know what GOD is, it's Gender, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. So we had a GOD oversight committee without a GOD representation on the executive side of council. So how do you do oversight when the executive is not speaking to you and giving you reports in terms of GOD? So how they manage data, they were not tracking data in terms of how they're servicing women, youth, and persons with disabilities. And I, in my capacity as the MMC for Social Development, championed a change to that, where we tabled a report to the MACOM insisting that there needs to be a GOD representation
Give me one thing for the current election from your manifesto concerning the youth.
Oh, there's
one
lots.
plan, one strategy. Give me one.
There's a lot. Okay, so we all know about the abandoned industrial parks that we want revitalized, the EPWP opportunities that we want to scale up, but also monitor, because in the selection of people for those opportunities, there's a lot of cadre deployment and nepotism, which we want to do away with. There's opportunity centers that we rolled out when we were in government.
Thank you. I asked one, you gave me 3. Thank you. Bishop Adams.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think what is important, the ACDP stands strongly for a strong mix of youth and experience. And I think that is the challenge if we are not going to mix it. We in our manifesto come out very clearly where we say that we must give the youth a pull up. They have been neglected. A youth has been disenfranchised. Youth has been
give
forgotten.
us one example of something you would do.
Being a sportsman, for me, I think, and the one thing you want, there's many things, but the one thing is, how do we get back the infrastructure that has been demolished? On Saturday, I launched my Johannesburg Manifesto, Servant Leader Action Plan at the Union Stadium in Westbury. And I took the young children to play soccer there to make an emphatic call and to expose the corruption that happened in the city of Johannesburg, where 21 million rand vanished and the stadium is gone. Not only that stadium, the swimming pools in Eldos, the sports centers in Annandale, everywhere. So if for the ACDP, it is imperative that we rebuild the infrastructure for young people. Because a child in sport is a child out of court.
Okay. Mr. Mashaba?
I think if you look at look at ActionSA, a new party, just a year old. You look at our highest decision-making body of our organization. We've got 3 youth under 30. Who sits on the highest decision-making?
Under 30.
Under 30. On the Senate of ActionSA. Just going to the website, look at the leadership of this party. So we are not just really talking, it is there in practice. But I think I want South Africans to really be aware about the criminality and evil that ANC has created. You know, I remember in the late 90s, I started complaining to my wife when I got home that, you know, I've got a feeling, I'm not a prophet, I've got a feeling that ANC wants to keep particularly black youth ignorant and uneducated, give them drugs. And that's really what we are paying.
That's a hard thing to say, Mr. Mashaba.
What is hard?
Do you think that the outcomes in youth dysfunction that we see, it's an engineered outcome?
is it a mistake? I mean, when you don't provide education to people, you have Angie Mutseha and Bladen Zimande for more than 10 years, who have dismally, spectacularly failing. What is it? Is it a mistake? We've been raising this. When you have SADTU as a union deciding who becomes a principal of schools where they sell jobs and for all kinds of manner, you destroy jobs and opportunities. You look at the education outcomes of this country at the West in the world. We've become the crime capital in terms of drugs and so forth. So I'm saying it's anyone can tell me this is not a deliberate action by the ANC.
We still
this
have
is deliberate.
Leandra, you'll talk to us if there's any questions coming in from the viewers.
Yeah, bring it through for us. Like, just back again here to everybody. Again, thank you so much for coming through, every single one of you. In the most view of government, if you look precisely around the improvement of the municipalities, and given that only 27 out of 257 municipal achievements receive clean audits. So the question is, and most of it was in the Western Cape. So in the most region AG report on the municipality, it shows that. So how are we going to change this when you run and you are in a mayoral position? Because it's clear that when we don't receive good audited outcomes.
Can I just really come in here and I want to really wake South Africans. Fortunately enough, I've had 3 years of running government. Honestly, I think this is something that we need to revisit constitutionally, where we judge political parties on the basis of clean audit. Clean audit for what? Look at the apartheid government. Used to run one of the best government in the world. I mean, South Africa, Johannesburg was a world-class city. Us as black people were not allowed there. Were they not running a good government? And that's precisely what the DA is actually doing. So we must not really judge them because right now how DA is judged. It's just on putting together a budget for a small community.
Mr. Mashaba, how do you suggest we should judge?
When you judge government going forward, and I think it's something that will have to really be dealt with at a constitutional level so that we look at our laws. We must judge governments on the basis of delivering to all South Africans, not what the DA is doing. Where they perform well, they put together a budget to service their own small community, and they do it well. I mean, you can't question that from the AG, and the AG operates on the basis of the law. I believe very strongly governments must be judged on providing services to all communities.
Yes. Let me come in there. Let me come in there, Doctor. I think I don't normally agree with Mr. Mashaba, but in this one, I do agree with him. I think
you don't have to agree with
him. There's one thing. There's one thing. The issue of clean audits doesn't necessarily say that it is good governance. Yes. It doesn't necessarily say that, because you must balance it parallel with service delivery. And to actually say that you have clean audits, and that is what is actually, people can't eat clean audits. People cannot. Clean audits doesn't deal with the issues of potholes, electricity, and illegal connections, and lack of housing. So from the ACDP point of view, we are saying, when we say clean audit, it must be married to the people feeling that clean audit. Otherwise, it's just clean audit on paper.
Dr. Paul.
I would really like to come in here, and fortunately for South Africans, and fortunately for the Democratic Alliance, there's different ways of measuring performance. The Auditor General is obviously interested in clean audits. Stats SA in 2019 released a report looking at service delivery, particularly to indigent communities. And the Democratic Alliance, even with those indicators, still came out on top. So it's not either or. It doesn't have to be. You look at
now. Here's the curveball. Here's the curveball. The very intelligent people tell us that the problem with the DA in the Western Cape, you've never inherited any underdeveloped areas from hundreds of years from the old TBVC states. For the younger viewers, there was a time under the National Party when they tried to cut us up, and they put Xhosas in Transkei and Ciskei, and they put Setswana people in Papua, and those were type of semi-independent states that we collapsed in 94 again, called the TBVC states. You've never inherited them in the Western Cape, so you never had the service delivery backlog. So let's take Gqeberha, Nelson Mandela Metro, where you did inherit that type of backlog. And Nelson Mandela, or municipality, is in chaos. You ran a coalition there. I mean, that municipality, the wheels are coming off. Can we use that municipality as your example.
Well,
It's outside
in
of the
fact-
Western Cape. You took it in 2016.
No, please, you can use Johannesburg as an example, where they refused providing services to poor communities. That's why EFF would attend events where
There's a direct question,
she was
a direct
opening,
answer.
she was opening clinics
let's-
in poor communities where the DA did not want, and EFF
But-
will come.
Let's let her answer.
but before-
let's let her
Okay,
answer. Yeah,
okay,
there's a
it's fine.
direct question for it. It would be unfair if we don't give an opportunity.
It's very interesting. So let me come to Johannesburg because Mr. Mashaba wants us to bring it here. It's interesting that I only find out now during these elections that the DA was refusing for us to open clinics in poor communities. I never knew that as the MMC for Health and Social Development in the 3 years that we were doing the work. Let me tell you what I do remember.
So what are you saying, Mr. Mashaba is saying?
No, I never knew that. I'm hearing it now during election campaigns.
No, put it to him directly. Is he misleading us, or what are you saying?
I don't know if he didn't share that information with us, but it would be interesting. I mean, we were doing this work together. Not once did it come up that the DA has an issue with us opening clinics in poor communities. Not once. In fact, health is a delegated function from the Provincial Department of Health. We received the money for running health services from Gauteng Health as a delegated function. Yes, we subsidized it because we wanted to do more, like extending hours of service. That wasn't part of their own initial agreement with the province, and those kind of things we needed to do. But there was never any resistance from the Democratic Alliance. I'm not aware of that until now when we're campaigning for these elections. Here's what I do remember is that we are serving very diverse constituencies in Johannesburg. Johannesburg has the haves and the have-nots, the ratepayers and the non-ratepayers. What happens is when the ratepayers pay their rates go into the same kitty. And this then becomes the revenue pool of the city that services the whole city. In other words, indirectly, the ratepayers are paying for some services in poorer areas. Now, when you're dealing with a situation like that, you need to manage different interests. As much as we want to develop poorer areas, we need to be cognizant of the ratepayer who is paying rates in exchange for value for money. And that's the balance that wasn't there because of the EFF's influence.
I want to come back there later. I just quickly want to handle the issue here that Dr. Hendricks asked about clean audits. Is that your stance, or you have a different view?
Yeah, one thing that I want to say with regards to that is that when we use DA as a model, let us make sure that we compare bananas with bananas. Because Cape Town is different to Johannesburg, right? Because Cape Town is predominantly white area. And equally, as Mr. Mashaba indicated, they failed to adopt a particular community that was marginalized, right? That is why EFF had to give more proposal in terms of the motions. One of the motions that was proposed in the city of Johannesburg is the one of having the mobile clinics in the areas where there are no clinics and in the squatter camps, right? But because Mr. Mashaba was that kind of a mayor, when one speaks to him, he listens. But if it was only a DA, pure DA, they're not going to adopt to that because their interests are more on white people as opposed to servicing the community.
Now, this helps me to get into the next question. Let's talk about the massive budget of a municipality like the city of Joburg.
Yeah.
73 billion in this financial year. 8 billion of that is capex. For the benefit of the viewers, that's the money with which we're going to build things. It's capital expenditure referred to as capex. How are we using that massive supply chain budget when we buy goods and services to empower black business fairly and to make sure that the Bidvests and the Stefanatis and the WBHOs, which have grew into giants under ANC watch over the last 27 years, we stop that? How do we use SCM as a tool for transformation?
Well, look, I think if you want to empower black entrepreneurs, stop corruption, put in a professional public service. Because once you can put together a professional public service that is going to serve people, not political parties, when you put people because of who they know, not what they know. Who suffers? Are poor black people. Because if you look at the city of Johannesburg that I ran, I mean, it's dominated by cadres, and I think EFF was really very crucial in assisting me, to helping me to identify the highness.
I can see a coalition coming here. It's just compliments between the two of you.
No, EFF and I...
We had a good relationship.
I won't be shocked to see you. I can see there's something in the area.
Well, there's no way that...
I just want to say that
there's no way that ActionSA can never get into a coalition with the EFF at national level. But when it comes to social justice, which the DA does not have for black people, we agree with that.
Leandra's getting ready to give questions, but 30 seconds each. SCM as a tool for transformation, Muzi.
Yeah, I think you're correct, but if we can perhaps use the Bidvest as an example,
yes,
right? You want to empower people, let's use them as an experienced organization or a company, have smaller business in there for incubation processes, for them to, so that they can stand on their own, so that we can transfer money equally as opposed to giving tenders to our own people that we prefer as opposed to the general.
Thank you. Dr. Mpo, SCM as a tool for transformation?
Well, I have a message actually for young people, that we need to really guard against the culture of entitlement. So as much as we want to empower young people need to understand, as a black female, I don't want to be mayor on the grounds of being a black female. I want to qualify, and I want to have the competencies, and I want to have the right attitude and approach to the work. And me being a black female might just be an add-on. I feel, and it's been our experience in government, that a lot of young people expect to be given opportunities they're not necessarily trained for, qualified for, ready for. And even when you partner them up with qualified big business, for instance, in some business modeling that some municipalities will do, they don't take it seriously, and we've had that on the other side, that complaint from big business that we want to empower the young.
So let's stay on the issue of entitlement. Is Bidvest not an entitled company to know that in all of those sectors that it operates, it will get it? Is Stephen Attie Stocks not doing business with the state on the basis of entitlement? My issue is, I'm asking a simple question. The constitutional imperative, it's in the constitution, regardless of what AfriForum wants to tell us, the transformation of the country. And I'm saying that government is a very huge buyer of goods and services. And under a massive budget like Joburg City, is there an intention? I'm not talking about entitled people. I'm talking about, here's an engineer. He's a black engineer. He's from Wits Engineering School. He did his candidacy program for 2 years. Will he get a contract to build a road, to upgrade a sanitation network? Or will it go back and back and back to the usual suspects who have grown into fat cats?
So the direct response from me is, I spoke about GOD, and GOD was, let's focus on youth. It's looking at gender, youth, and persons with disabilities. Across the board, across departments, across functionalities, you monitor how much of opportunities are going towards young people. And that would, of course, include procurement. But I just wanted to bring the other side of the coin, that as much as the government wants to empower young people also need to get themselves ready for those positions. So in other words, don't go and build a road without stormwater drainage systems because you got it on the basis of being a young person, but you never allowed yourself to learn how to do it properly. And big business that wants to empower young people, and I've been engaging even with business on the campaign trail. They want to, and they've had experiences that they've shared with us where they wanted to empower young people and they would just not show up sometimes. They would just not come to the party, and so the whole thing would collapse, and you end up with big business that's also discouraged from doing work with the government because of that responsibility that doesn't work out in the end. We need both ends of the coin to work.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. Bishop Dalton?
Yeah, you can't give me 30 seconds when you gave the DA so much time, so just don't.
And there was just something yesterday in the newspaper about the DA where the executive director in the city of Cape Town gave PricewaterhouseCoopers a deal of 40 million that ballooned into double the price of 80 million, and now he just resigned. He's joining PricewaterhouseCoopers as a new director, your executive in the city of Cape Town.
So the question with regards to the budget of the city of Johannesburg is important for me. It must be a budget that is pro-people's budget. And you see, the challenge is it's always from the top down and never from the bottom up. It's always dictatorial. We decide. And that's why nothing nothing actually happens and gets done when it comes to the communities that really needs the budget. So the question of pro-poor, the question of the ratepayers is always a challenge for us. So the first thing that needs to happen, Attie, is the issue of we must eradicate the tendering system. For that budget. The tendering system is your challenge, and that's where cater deployment comes in.
So you say build the capacity in the municipality.
Build the capacity, but cascade it down to the people. Get the people's buy-in, get stakeholders buy-in. You see, the problem is you have a system And it's it is systemic in the sense that you always have bureaucracy speaking to the people, and people feel left out. So what needs to happen here? You need to have, you have to depoliticize and to professionalize what happens in the city of Johannesburg. And the IDP system is flawed in every single way. We need to rewrite the IDP system processes here in the city of Johannesburg. The stakeholders must be engaged. The people must see the cake, communicate the cake. My last point here, the first point for service delivery is communication. And the challenge is nobody's communicating with the people. Put the cake there and tell the people how the cake must be cut up for the people to benefit from it.
Now let us hear what EFF.
Yes, yeah, thanks very much. I agree. He's articulating one of the cardinal pillars of the EFF to abolish tenders. That is why people must vote EFF. We're going to exercise that in the city of Johannesburg. But one thing that I want to also highlight here is that Dr. Mpo is misleading us here. It's a clear demonstration that she doesn't have touch of the reality on the ground. If she were to go back and check the stats of unemployed graduates, she's not going to say what she's saying.
So you're now talking about competent people.
Exactly.
Unentitled people.
Competent equally, but they're not getting opportunity to practice what they've studied for. So they are ready. They are well equipped. But the space where they need to start to implement and practice what they know better, it's closed because it's reserved for certain individuals or for certain companies.
Thank you. Just hold your thought there. Let's just take our orders here from the producer.
Thank you so much once again to all our panelists and to our viewers who are watching. Thank you so much for your questions. And in line with what you just said, Mr. Tshabalala, there was somebody that said here, what are you doing about job creation with youth that are qualified, who have degrees, many degrees, who are sitting at home at the moment? So I thank you for answering that or addressing that. But I want to get to another one. I'm not going to go through the others. There's just quite a lot of commentary based on what you already said. So I'm going to ask you this question that Mr. Herman Mashaba already touched on, but it's about undocumented foreign nationals. So they want to know, what will you do as what is your party's outlook or manifesto? Is it part of your manifesto of what you're going to do with undocumented foreign nationals?
Thank you.
Can I just
before you go, pair it for me also with urban renewal and taking the inner city back from the slum it has descended into. You can go, sir.
Well, absolutely. The Inner City Rejuvenation Project, it's a very, very critical project to revitalize our city and bring economic activity back. But in the process, you create plumbers, electricians, and so forth. You provide affordable accommodation for our people. That's why, for us, in the inner city, unlike Cape Town, at the city of Johannesburg, we took back cities. By the time I left, 154 buildings were already taken back from criminal syndicates, given to the private sector to build affordable accommodation for the people. You know how much was going to be invested? 32 billion rands in investment, creating 21,000 permanent jobs, creating 14,000 permanent jobs. And what we were saying to the private sector, unlike Cape Town, we are saying 30% of those buildings must go to poor people.
Now pay it with a direct question. And the twin problem of undocumented foreign nationals. What is ActionSA saying?
ActionSA is very, very clear about this. We are going to have within JMPT, we're going to have the anti-corruption and anti-immigration unit, where on a daily basis you are not going to run a business in the city of Johannesburg if you don't have South African documentation. You are not going to run business in the city of Johannesburg when you are not registered with the South African Revenue Services. And you are not going to run business if you don't employ South Africans.
Thank you. The EFF has a different view on Pan-Africanism.
Just on that one, before EFF, Mr. Mashaba, you know what I've noticed? This is most probably critical. When you go to the surrounding Chinese stores here, Chinatown and so many, they only trade with cash. Are they documented or are they undocumented?
It's precisely for that reason I'm bringing South African Revenue Services into place. We want to pass a bylaw where for you to really be able to operate in our cities, you must be registered with the South African Revenue Services and you must employ South Africans. That's where we will actually catch them.
No, thanks. I think we need to also clear when you speak about the foreign nationals, because when you say that, in people's minds, they refer to black people. And we need to...
And I think that's why Dr. Hendricks clarified that to say, we're also talking about Chinese, we're also talking about Portuguese, we're talking about undocumented documented foreign nationals and not undocumented African foreign nationals?
Yes. With that said, the issue of the people who are running business, again now, even though they are not registered, we view them as investors, and therefore they get to be sidelined in the whole approach of correcting the system in South Africa.
But Muzi, let's be fair. How can someone who's undocumented and unregistered be an investor? Because certainly that money enters. When you were in coalition with Mr. Mashaba, he ran research 3 years ago that showed how undocumented foreign nationals, the same person, goes to 4 clinics in a 10-day cycle and send that medication back home to Zimbabwe and Ghana and wherever it goes. I mean, how can that be an investor when they contest for basic services with the poorest of South Africans?
I was still clearing between the two.
Clear, my brother.
For that, whatever we say, people must have a clear understanding. When you talk of undocumented foreign nationals, who are we referring to? I'm trying to clarify that to say we're not specifically saying only that to black people. But equally, in our position as an organization, we're saying everyone who commits crime or who's here illegally must be legal, right? We don't care from which country you're from, but you must be documented so that we understand what is your business in the country. But what we are against is the victimization of our black brothers and sisters who are coming from the neighboring countries, particularly in Africa, because they are not treated equally as this. As an
undocumented Chinese.
Exactly.
Dr. Mpo, the DA position on undocumented foreign nationals and the rejuvenation of inner cities.
I first need to correct something because I don't want the DA to be misrepresented. So there's a difference. When you talk about procurement, you're talking about business. When you talk about graduate unemployment, you're not talking business, you're talking employment, and we need to separate the two. So in terms of graduate unemployment, I spoke about EPWP opportunities and us scaling them up and making sure that they're available across the board, because a lot of unemployed graduates have been able in the city to get into EPWP positions and then progress into other professional opportunities as and when they become available, because the barrier often is experience, and we're able to, through the EPWP offering, give them that. So I don't want us to confuse things. The issue of foreign nationals, migration is a global phenomenon. The Democratic Alliance believes in migration for development. We believe that people must move and skills must move, and that's how the global economy thrives. However, yes, we believe in the rule of law, and you'll see in our 2019 manifesto, because regularization of foreign nationals is a national competency. So yes, we had very strong...
But it happens in a city.
It does happen in the city.
It's a national competence, Mr. Mashaba.
But it happens at a cold face.
I didn't get a chance.
I'm coming to you. I just wanted him to assist me with, because it happens in a city. A city cannot just tie its hands and say, but that's a provincial competence, it's a national competence. It's in the city where someone, I mean, it's the slum is the city, even if the competence is national. Bishop Adams?
Okay, so for us as the ACDP, and this I believe is the middle road we have to take. There is a program and a project, when I'm the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, is to bring what we call the 7-11 program. The 7-11 program will deal specifically with audit and collating of stats. You see, we have a problem with the executive, with the CEOs and CFOs and directors and the administration and officialdom who doesn't really know what's happening on the ground. So from 7 in the morning to 11 in the morning, there must be no meetings, because everybody says they are in meetings.
Businessmen will clap their hands for you.
And nothing is actually happening. The people on the ground can't get hold of the officials.
And now they can even work from home.
So what
They're
I'm
not
saying,
even
exactly,
working from work.
So what needs to happen is 7-11, everybody, boots on the ground program. We need to go to these businesses that are not registered. We got to check them. We have to check them. The whole administration must be on the ground. Then we'll be able to deal with the foreign nationals, whether it be a Chinese, a Lebanese, a Malawian, or a Zimbabwean, wherever they are. When it comes to foreign nationals, Attie, for me in particular, I'm a humanitarian. And I understand we are dealing with an issue that the horse is already bolted and they're already in the country. We have porous borders. We have corruption at the borders. We understand that. But we cannot come here and advocate that we're going to throw people out. The whole world will actually stand up against us if we do that. So my manifesto point is, 1, we have to put a moratorium, in my view, for 6 months. where we tell all the foreign nationals, you have 6 months, doesn't matter who you are. And with the 7-11 program, you're able to begin to check who is regularized or not. That is correct.
While you get
6
your
months.
paperwork in order.
But then this is the crux of the matter. This is important. You must marry the ambassadors, the embassies, the ambassadors, and the high commissioners. Why are they not involved in dealing with their own people's challenges? We must bring them on board to say, this is your people. You must regularize them. We must then send our Home Affairs officers to their officers to work with them to regularize them. And I believe that is the answer for foreign nationals here in South Africa.
So, ACDP, if you're a man of God, you're a man that has got a conscience, wants to give amnesty, then you must give amnesty to all these rapists and everyone, because you're a good man.
I'm talking about regularization of documentation. That's what I'm talking about.
So I think when someone has broken the law and you believe in the rule of law, and that's
no,
what
I never
God-
said the rule of law must not be applied. We believe in the rule of law. I'm saying when it comes to regularizing people, that's what I'm talking about, Mr. Mashaba. The documentation of people. But the rule of law
Mr.
must...
Mashaba
You see
is
the
saying
issue. But
if
the
you're
issue
gonna-
here...
No, Mr. Mashaba is saying if you're going to do it in one area, then you're opening yourself up, then you must do it in all other
No,
areas.
the issue is fingerprints. They don't have fingerprints. They're not regularized. So when you go and give them sick, they must go and fix. They must get their papers right. So you can follow up who's doing the murders, who's raping, because now we don't know.
Okay. Right. Final question. 10 seconds each. 10 seconds each.
Yeah, before we get there, we the producers were just telling me they were just giving me some extra. You want to run?
Yes.
Yeah. Like now, what are around the electoral targets?
Yeah, that's why. But thank you, Doc.
Yeah.
What do you hope, objectively, what portion of the vote do you think you will get in Joburg? And if you don't win it outright, who may be your possible bad partners into a coalition?
Well, let me quickly answer this one. ActionSA, we've made it really very clear. We're not the party to be in opposition benches. We are in this game to really govern. And in the event of us, we would like to really, we're working hard to get outright majority. In the event we don't get outright majority, the only party we'll not go into bed with is the ANC. And why would not go into bed with the ANC is because the ANC is a criminal enterprise, not a political party. All the other parties will work with them.
10 seconds.
And also
Bishop
secondly,
Dalton?
I also want to make it very clear with the DA. If they want to go into bed with us, they must understand we're going to save all the communities, not grass cutting in Senton.
Yeah.
Bishop. We have no issue.
Target and partner.
No, we don't. Everybody is our partners because we need to rebuild the city of Johannesburg. So we can go in coalition because we believe we can influence for the sake of the
what
people.
target do you hope to get?
Well, we will not. Nobody will get 50 plus 1%. That's a pipe dream for
I hope the
everybody
rest
at
of
the
the three of
moment.
you have heard what
That is
Bishop-
basically it. So coalition government is the future in the city of
Okay, Dr.
Johannesburg.
Paul?
Well, Joburg has had 4 executive mayors in one term, 4 administrations in one term. What we see on the street is a direct result of that collapse of government over and over. We want to bring stability to the city, and we believe a 50 plus 1 majority with a DA government bringing in the DA brand of good governance is what Joburg needs right now because of its broken state. And we need a party that knows what it's doing and how to fix this. Should we end up in a position where we don't have the 50 plus 1 majority, yes, we will entertain the idea of being in a coalition with any party whose values and principles are aligned.
Who will you not be in
to
coalition
ours.
with?
We have not disqualified anybody from a coalition possibility.
In Joburg, we've had 4 mayors with different parties. In Tshwane, in the capital where you've governed, you on your own give us 4 mayors in this one term.
No, that's not true.
Yes.
No, the DA only had 3 mayors in Tshwane. The other part was the
Is
city
three-
was
is
under
three far away from 4?
administration. But let's be factual.
Is 3
It
that
was
far
under
away from 4?
administration,
You gave us
and
3 mayors in 5
that
years.
administration was manufactured by the ANC. By the
Thank
way,
you so much. Muzi, target and bad partners.
Okay. Now, I appreciate such opportunities because it gets to let me understand who are the people I'm going to be serving with in the council. Equally, I know these fellow colleagues sitting around the table are going to be in the opposition benches, all of them. We're going to govern the city of Johannesburg. It's given the numbers doesn't lie down there. We have the numbers and we're going to govern. If we were to be in coalition with anyone, whoever wants to come and partner with us, you must understand that you're going to be subjected to the 7 non-negotiable cardinal pillars of the EFF.
Closing remarks. We're going to give 2 minutes each, and I know Mr. Mashaba, you need to run, and everybody around here, you are on your campaign trail. 2 minutes closing remarks from you and everybody around the table, and then we'll call it a day.
I'm calling on the people of Johannesburg. ActionSA has got a proven record of 3 years of my mayorship of the city of Johannesburg, and we are there to really save you. You are going to be our bosses. We're going to fight corruption. We are going to really make sure that this city we can rebuild. We're going to take back all these abandoned buildings, give them to the private sector to build affordable accommodation for our people. We are going to attract investments in our city. Please challenge anyone to read the end of report that are prepared, checked by National Treasury, verified by Auditor General and Moody's. Just really look at the 3 years under difficult circumstances, what we've achieved. So you can imagine if we can govern on our own, give us the outright majority so that we can speed up service delivery.
What the people need is people who listen. People who can engage them, leadership that listens. The people need help. The people are standing in sewage. The people are not having proper drinking water. People have issues with illegal electricity connections and all the issues of service delivery. So the people are crying out for leadership, for a mayor that be able to say, I listen to you and how can I make it happen for you? So as the ACDP, we believe that the people needs to be listened to, point number 1, and 2, we need to help the people. And as when I become the mayor of Johannesburg, I will not fight the fellow political parties. I will not try and pull them down to rise, because nobody rises to pulling people down. I will try to work with every single one of them, because what the city needs is a collective brain, collective thinking. That's what the city needs. There's no one silver bullet of a party that's going to change the city of Johannesburg. It's going to take all of us to actually work together in unity to bring about this change, because the city of Johannesburg's people are the people that are suffering. So as the ACDP, we are saying, we are giving an olive branch to all the parties to say, let us build the city of Johannesburg. Let us take it to the next level. Let this be a renaissance, a new level for the city of Johannesburg.
Thank you, Bishop.
We want to deliver the 7 pillars of our manifesto. So a city that delivers basic services, water, electricity, roads, sewer. We want to be a city that is safe. So strengthening public safety and working in an integrated fashion with other law enforcement agencies. We want to be a caring city, a city that recognizes that the poor are always with us and they need to be supported through programs. We want to be a business-friendly city by delivering an environment that is business friendly and supportive for businesses to thrive, grow the economy and create jobs. We want to be a city that is well run through e-governance systems. We want to be a city that's inclusive. We want to have mixed income developments throughout the city so that people can facilitate their own social mobility. And we want to bridge the digital divide, particularly with COVID, with people having to work from home and learn from home. We want everybody to be treated equal across the city and to be able to function in this dispensation. The DA is ready to take over the city and fix what is broken.
No, thank you very much. The EFF, we are saying, let people vote for the EFF. We have proven ourselves from inception when we got into Parliament, National Parliament, that we are prepared to hold anyone accountable. And whatever we say, it's well informed and it gets to be proven to be true. We've kicked out Jacob Zuma here in the city of Johannesburg. We passed a lot of motions under the stewardship of Herman Mashaba, and most of those things that we've proposed in the city of Johannesburg were implemented. And our people now, they're getting the services that they deserve because of the efforts of the EFF. And moving forward, we are saying, let them vote for us and make sure that whatever we proposed to any other administration gets to be implemented by us, because we know those issues from the heart.
I just want to thank Camerdene-June also for being in the studio with us here today from this perspective of young people. CJ, what's your closing remarks?
So in closing, I just want to say some might argue that lack of youth political participation is still political participation. The youth is not apathetic. We cannot afford to be apathetic. Our issues are too many, too dire, and too pertinent. So I plead with you to mobilize the youth, to prioritize us, and to bring us into these spaces so that we can feel represented and begin to participate and restore trust into the political systems and processes.
Well, that's the end of our show. I would love to thank my dear co-host here, as usual, my political associate here if it comes to studio work. Ivuta, get you in. You're the guy. Thank you so much for coming in every time when I have political aspects, and thank you so much for your availability, Attie. Really, really appreciate that. And then also, I just like to thank Mr. Herman Mashaba. Thank you so much for coming, sir. It's so kind having you here, and thank you for honoring our invitation. I would love to thank Dr. Phalatse. Thank you so much, smart lady from DA. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. And also, Bishop, the Honorable Dalton Adams, thank you so much for honoring our invitation. And then from the EFF, Mr. Muzi Tshabalala. Thank you so much. Everybody on the set, thank you so much. From me to you, this is the Inside Show. We went a little bit over time this morning, but well, what a wonderful, wonderful cooperation, and what a wonderful political minds around the same table. From me to you, mwah, I love you. You take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday, and all the best. See you soon. Good morning, everybody. It is so good to have you here with me. Imagine if you have your vision as the car with the right team. Imagine how quick that vision will come into the footsteps. Something that was taking 5 years takes 3 months. This morning is all about the leadership and influence.